So welcome to Yoga Beyond Asana. Um, the session today is focusing on karma, what karma is, what karma isn't, and then karma yoga as a style of yoga, or a school of yoga, I should say, how that helps us kind of work with and understand karma and then free ourselves from the bonds of karma. Okay, let's take a moment to arrive. So come and take a comfortable seat. As always, you don't need to be sat on the floor. You can sit on a chair, you can sit on your sofa. As long as the spine is nice and tall and as long as you're comfortable, that is just completely perfect. Okay, so find that comfortable seat, rest your hands anywhere, palms face down is really good for grounding and arriving. So if you've been a bit frazzled today, if you've been a bit all over the place, then you might just go palms face down. Palms face up is really good for energizing, for receiving. So if you would quite like to learn today and you're not feeling too frazzled, then palms face up might be the one for you. And then let's rest the eyes on a fixed point in front of you, or allow the eyes to close. And just taking a moment to arrive. So putting to one side the day that you've had, putting to one side the tasks that you've had on your list, those that have been ticked, and also putting to one side those that have not been ticked. And if you're like me, that list is slightly longer. Let's think about growing tall up through the sides of the body. So that by default will bring length into the front of the body and the back of the body. And let's think about growing tall up through the sides of the neck. So the chin is neither lifted nor dropped, it's neutral. The weight of your heavy head is just resting on your neck, on your body. And there's as little effort there as possible. I would love you to clear your mind as much as possible. Clear your mind of to-dos, clear your mind of internal chatter, clear your mind of what has happened in the past, what may or may not happen in the future. Just coming into this present moment, which is actually quite a key part of our learnings this evening. And I would love you to try to clear your mind of what you think you know about karma. Even what you're certain that you're sure of, and even any assumptions. And just coming into this class with a clear mind, an open heart. So I say this quite often, but the reason that I wanted to teach this class, Yoga Beyond Asana, is like partly because I believe that teaching the philosophy of yoga is important as a yoga teacher, and it's important to understand that and pass that on. But it's because the philosophy is immediately applicable to our everyday life. It's not just to keep the tradition alive. It's not just because it's romantic. It's not just because it's like slightly inspiring, great lofty thoughts, and then we just go back to normal life. They're things that you can do straight away. So, like I say, clearing your mind of what you think that you know about karma, and coming into this class with an open heart. Okay, so eyes can stay closed if you like, or stay resting nice and soft on a fixed point. You're just going to bring your hands to your lower back. It doesn't matter how the hands are orientated, just hands to the lower back. Think about bringing the elbows together, sliding the collarbones away from one another, lifting up through the sternum, through the breastbone, maybe a gentle lift of the chin. Now, keep the back of the neck long. We're not dropping the head back. We're thinking about lengthening the front of the neck slightly longer than the back of the neck. Open the elbows a little bit more and breathe into this open chest, open rib cage, open heart. And if you've been reaching forwards to a computer or reading or writing or driving for a lot of the day, then this hopefully will feel like a little bit of a reset. Remember, the asana, the physical practice, was always to prepare for teachings and for meditation. So we really are kind of following that. Okay, and then just releasing the hands. Let's take some seated cat-cows. So inhaling, bringing you into a kind of back bend shape. Lift the sternum like we just were. And then exhaling, chin to the chest. Let the shoulder blades roll away from one another. Draw the belly back towards the spine. And then you move in your own time, in your own pace. If you want to swap the inhale and exhale around, that can be quite nice for the neural pathways. Just taking you out of like what you think you know, taking you out of your habits. So if you joined me last week, funnily enough, the class from last week and the class from this week are there's some overlap. Last week we talked about the pause between stimulus and response, so how to increase the gap before between something happening and then having the reaction to it. And like I say, some of the class is quite similar. Okay, inhale, take the arms into T. Exhale, come into a side stretch, either side. Inhale, bring the arms into T. Exhale, side stretch, other side. Okay, and then you'll just keep this going with the breath. So nice and easy, we're just loosening off the shoulders, loosening off the side body. We've made some space down the front of the body. Now we're making a bit of space down the side of the body, and that will help us breathe a little deeper. Okay, finishing off your second side when you're ready. Coming back to center, all right? And we'll come on to hands and knees. So I'm going sideways on because we're going to come on to hands and knees, and then you're going to take a leg out to the side. Okay, so if I do it any other way, I don't have enough space, and you can just orientate yourself so that you have enough space. So let's keep the left knee on the floor and pad underneath it if needed, that's fine. And the right leg is straight out to the side. Right little toe, side of the foot is parallel with the short edge of the mat there. And go ahead and take your right foot away from you as far as you can, whilst keeping your left thigh vertical. Hands are underneath the shoulders, they're shoulder distance apart, and you're spreading the fingers, and then cat-cow. So inhaling into your cow belly and exhaling into your cow stretch. And make this fluid. Close the eyes if you like, and be as present as you possibly can. As long as this feels great for you, you are doing it perfectly right. So be as present in your body as you can be, and all will be revealed about how that relates to Karma Yoga as we move through our class together. Okay, so just finishing off your cat-cows when you're ready, coming to a neutral spine. And then you'll heel toe this right foot just about the length of one of your own feet towards you, and point it out at a 45-degree angle. All right, so it was just pointing at 12 o'clock on a clock. Let's point it at about 2, and then take some hip circles here. And you can make these as wild and as huge as you would like, or as tiny or as subtle as you would like. You might like to experiment by coming down onto your left forearm or maybe both forearms, but just getting some fluidity through the hips. Some of you might know already about the flow of prana and apana. Apana is a downward flow of energy. And when apana is stuck, then everything becomes stuck and we can't put anything new in. So here, by loosening off the hips, we're encouraging the flow of downward energy, apana energy. So getting rid of anything that we don't need, and then we can fill up with knowledge about karma. Okay. And then coming back onto your hands and knees, let's bring the knees together and we'll just drop the hips to one side and then to the other side. So this gets into your muscles that get quite tight when we're seated a lot and when we walk a lot. And all I'm doing is sitting and walking like all day, every day. So maybe that's true of everyone. Okay, and then same thing, second side. So left foot as far away from you as it can be while still keeping the right thigh vertical. Cat cow. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to inhale into your angry cat shape and exhale into your cow shape, that doesn't quite work so symphonically with the way that the lungs operate and the diaphragm operates and the rib cage operates, but it's good to throw us out of our habits, out of our neural pathways. And again, you'll see why that is relevant as we move through our session together. And then when you're ready, just heel toeing that left foot a little closer to you, take it out to a 45-degree angle and start to take some hip circles. And you might notice that one hip feels a little bit tighter than the other. You might notice that one hamstring is tighter than the other. Maybe you can feel this a little deeper into the buttock on one side and the other side, making sure you're taking your hip circles in both directions. Okay, and then bringing yourself onto your hands and knees. From here, we'll tuck the toes under and send the hips up and back into our downward dog position. It's fine to bend the legs and let your head be heavy, heavy, heavy. Okay, inhale to look forwards. Exhale to walk, step or jump forwards. Hands slide to shins or thighs. Inhale, lift halfway, make the spine as long as possible. Exhale, bend the legs, fingertips to the mat, let your head release heavily. Inhale all the way up to standing, sweep the arms high to the ceiling. Let's exhale, bring the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, nice strong grip there, feet hip width apart. Inhale, lift and open the sternum, arms are strong, they don't have to be straight. Exhale, bend the legs and fold forwards. And allow the arms to come a little way away from the body. Let the head hang heavy. So the heart is opening, the spine is lengthening, and the head is below the heart. So plenty of fresh blood going into the brain there, helping us with our new ideas. Inhale, come on all the way up to standing. Draw the belly in, sweep the arms up nice and high to the ceiling. Exhaling, folding forwards, fingertips to the mat. Release your head, let it hang heavy. Hands slide up to shins or thighs. Inhale, lift halfway, make the spine long, long, long. Exhale, hands flat and walk your way into your downward dog position. Take any intuitive movement that you need here. And then let's settle down into child's pose. So bring the knees wide, bring the big toes together, and most importantly, let the head relax. So if you need to rest the head onto your hands or onto a cushion, then you are very welcome to. If child's pose doesn't suit you, come to a seated meditation or just come and lie on your back on the floor. Close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And with your potentially slightly clearer, maybe more focused mind, just take a moment to think, How did you end up here today? I know that sounds like a really weird thing to say, but trust me, trust me, I'm a yoga teacher. Allow your hopefully slightly clearer, slightly more focused mind to just think, how did you get here today? What things have happened to bring you into this class on this day, onto the yoga mat that you're practicing on, in the room that you're practicing in the house that you're practicing in the town that you live in or that you are in at the moment, when you could live anywhere on the planet. All of the things in your life that have led you to this very, very moment. Allow your mind to just be free and think about all of the good things that have happened. Like, yes, that feels amazing. That's why I'm here. And all the bad things. Oh goodness, that happened, didn't it? Okay, so now I have to move somewhere, or now I have to cancel what I was going to do instead, or something like that. Maybe you didn't think you were going to make the class today, and then all of a sudden something happened or didn't happen, and it all unraveled in front of you. Okay, I'm coming to the class. So hopefully, needless to say, there's no like right answers or wrong answers in terms of what led you to the class today. Okay. So from child's pose, we're going to work our way through a couple of vinyasas, couple of little flows. And I just would really love you to think about being as present as you possibly can be. All right. So when you're ready, bringing yourself up onto your hands and knees. And then tucking your toes under and sending your hips all the way up and back into your downward dog position. Seeing about taking habit out of it and being as present as you possibly can be. Inhale your way into your press up position, into your plank pose. So shoulders over the wrist, shoulders, hips, knees and ankles all in line, or half plank with the knees on the floor. Take an inhale, make the arms strong, shoulders strong, belly strong. Exhale, lower as carefully and slowly as you can do. Now make the legs super strong. Press the pubic bone to the floor. Draw the belly back towards the spine. That will help the apana energy flow out of the body, down and out of the body, and inhaling into your back bend when you're ready. And if you haven't done so already, and then exhaling all the way up and back, downward dog position. Head is heavy. One more of those. Inhale into your plank as you wish to take it this evening. Exhale, lowering, slow and controlled, maybe slower than normal. Take yourself out of your habits. Inhale into a back bend, maybe not quite as deep as you would normally go. Make the legs even stronger. And then exhale all the way up and back into your downward dog position. And then from here, come and find yourself a comfortable seated or kneeling position while we just have a little bit of a chat about karma. Okay, so in the bit of promo that I did for this class, I put in, excuse my language, but what is karma? Is karma a bitch? Or spoiler, it's not a bitch. And the karma is one of the many things that has come from the East and been completely like misunderstood and mashed up by Western brains and then kind of spouted out through media. Like, I really think that Tantra was given the kind of like Western opinion of it from, is it American Pie, the film that had the like the geeky kid and then the MILF, the attractive mum, and they practiced tantra, and it was all about sex. And so that's like not really what tantra is. And karma is not a bitch. So like it kind of might be. Okay, so what is karma if it's not that? So karma is often kind of boiled down to, well, you reap what you sow. And those two like phrases or those two sayings about karma run the risk of us thinking that karma is always negative. You reap what you sow. Well, you know, you decided not to take the bin out, so now you've got a smelly kitchen, you know, like you reap what you sow. Or you made your bed, now you've got to lie in it, like that kind of thing. So karma isn't like good, it isn't bad, it just is. Karma is the nature of how things work just by being a human and living in this world. So I just asked you to think about how you got here to do this class today. So like in the house that you're living in. So that might be, you know, it might be your absolute dream house, and everything that you've done up until this moment has been to work hard, to build a pot of money, to buy a house and do it up so that it is like absolutely perfect for you and to your taste. Or where you are at the moment might be for you like a bit of an in-between house while you kind of sort out a load of other stuff, and then hopefully, like, let's say like lockdown is lifted or something, then you're going to go hunting for somewhere else to live. Maybe the town or the city that you're living in at the moment was supposed to be just somewhere that you were going to stay for like a month or something while you worked something else out, and you still, you know, and you're still there. Certain things have happened, they've kept you there. Maybe you got a job that you love, maybe you fell in love, you know. So basically what I'm trying to get across is that all of our actions have like repercussions and consequences, which sounds negative. It's not negative, it's just a result. Like you do something and there's a result. Okay, so I pick up this piece of paper and the piece of paper lifts, you know. I go outside and I am cold. Well, maybe not today, it's been quite mild. But you know what I mean. Okay, so every action has a result of that action. And out of that result will come other actions that then have more results. And these are, every time you make an action, karma means action. I should explain that. Karma means action. So every time you do an action, every time you make an action, some karmic seeds are created and planted in your life. And they just are ready to sprout when they're ready to sprout. Some might never sprout. You might die before some of them sprout. Some of them might sprout instantly. I pick up this piece of paper and the piece of paper lifts up. These are my notes, by the way, because I want to stay on track. Okay, so karma is just simply an action. That's all. Not negative, not positive. It just is a fact. Okay, the karma word means action. There are three ways that we can act. We can think, we can speak, and we can do. Your thoughts have results, repercussions, consequences, however you want to say it, that are seeds that are planted in your life, ready to sprout. Okay, so let's put that into practice. So I like say to myself, my core is really weak. My core is really weak. My core is really weak. And then the result of that might be, oh, it's not as weak as I thought it was. Or it might be, yeah, it's really weak, and it might propel me to go and do something about it. I'm just thinking that because I can feel it after we just did those planks. Okay, so, and then I might say out loud, my core is really weak. And the results of that might be that some of you are thinking, why? You're a yoga teacher, it should be pretty strong. Or some of you might be like, shut up, I want to learn about karma. So there's lots of results that can come as an effect, an impact, a result of the words that are coming out of my mouth. And then my actual physical actions also have results. So maybe I do a plank and I make my core stronger. Or maybe I do a plank and I injure my wrist. I don't know what the results are going to be. We'll come on to that in a moment. But everything that we think, say, and do has an action. Okay? 3 ways to act within the world. Just to recap, thoughts, words, and actions, the results of those are not necessarily negative. They're not necessarily going to have negative results. I just want to be really clear on that. The karma's a bitch thing, you reap what you sow and stuff, is just our kind of Western mind dramatizing lives, really. Okay, so your karmic seeds are all stored. So some of you might have heard me talk about sanskaras. Sanskaras are basically like your habits, your habits that make up who you are. And really the karmic seeds are formed in habits. So last week when we were talking about making the gap bigger between having a stimulus and a reaction, pausing before you react and how to make that pause bigger, one of the things I explained was that when we're so busy just being humans and dealing with life, that we default to our habits quite often. And the habits are sanskaras or sanskars. And the karmic seeds are stored in the network of sanskaras, ready to sprout and grow into other things that we think or say or do whenever they are ready. I mentioned that we might die before some of the seeds sprout, and actually that's, if you just even think about that for a moment in common sense, not that I want to spend ages talking about death, and I really do apologize if you're grieving for anyone at the moment. Just take a moment, sorry. But on the day that you die, there will be things that you think, say, and do that put karmic seeds in your sanskar network that you haven't resolved. So when the karmic seeds are not resolved, they will come back with you in the next life to be resolved. So reincarnation is quite a big part of yoga philosophy. And if you're going to think about practicing yoga in order to become enlightened, in order to become contented ultimately, then you have to really believe in there being more than one lifetime, because it's a hell of a lot of work. So when they're not resolved, they come back with you. So you take your sanskaras, your karmic seeds, into the next life with you. The practice of yoga is the practice, we are working towards self-realization. And when you come to self-realization, then all of your karmic seeds are dissolved. The sanskar chit, the sanskar network, is completely dissolved. Okay, so how do we do with that? That's what we want to know, isn't it? How do we do that? How do we resolve our karmic seeds? How do we get rid of them? So some of you might remember last week I read out a poem, which was I walk down the street and I fall down a hole. I find myself in the hole, it's not my fault. Walk down the street again, I fall into a hole, find myself in the hole, I'm in the same hole, it's not my fault, and then walk down the same street, fall into a hole, and like, I'm in the same hole, it is my fault. And then you walk down the street but walk around the hole, so you've not fallen into the same hole again, and then you choose a different street. And that is basically how we come out of our habits, okay? Habits are formed when we are unconscious. Habits are formed when we are not conscious. So in order to start to be a little bit more careful in terms of the karmic seeds that are being created and planted as a result of our thoughts, words, and actions. In order to be a bit more conscious about that, we need to be more conscious in our everyday life, okay? It's when we fall into habits, especially like negative habits, especially negative cycles, that more and more seeds of the same kind of ilk are created and planted. So when we can be more present and act more consciously, less of those seeds that we don't want are going to be created and planted. I hope that makes sense. Let me continue with my explanation, and then we'll just sit for a minute and let it all settle. Okay, so karma is action, and it is just the fact that our thoughts, words, and actions have results that are the karmic seeds that then sprout when they're ready. That is karma. It's just fact. That's just exactly what it is. It's like saying, like life is life, birth and death is fact, love is just, it is a thing. Karma's a thing like that. Not necessarily good or bad. Karma yoga is using karma as a way to work towards enlightenment, a way to work towards self-realization. That's what karma yoga is, using karma to work towards self-realization. And basically, karma yoga is very simply having the presence of mind to change your habits, to change your unconscious patterns of behavior. So last week I mentioned how you might find yourself in the same situation, like again and again and again. The same situation with, places that you work, the same situation with like life partners, the same situation with friends, let's say you're dating someone and you're like, I can't believe my boyfriend did that, my ex-boyfriend did that, and the one before him and the one before him, and it's like, no offense, but the common factor is you. Doing the same thing. So anyway, I'm not saying that any of you are wrong. I'm just trying to explain how habits form who you are, and how karma yoga is the presence of mind to stop these habits, okay, to stop falling into these patterns of unconscious behavior. Karma yoga is very beautifully explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So I did a workshop a little while ago on the Bhagavad Gita, which is available on our Patreon account, and also we're putting on a Bhagavad Gita study group, so numbers will be limited, but it's an incredible text, and karma yoga is explained really beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna, who is very wise, is explaining to Arjuna, who is having a nightmare, he just needs some advice, but Krishna explains to Arjuna, there is action in inaction, and inaction in action. Okay, so action in inaction. When you sit, when you are still, when you meditate, there is still action there. There is still, hopefully not, but to an extent, there'll be thoughts that you're saying to yourself. By being still, by closing the eyes, by breathing deeply, you are activating the parasympathetic nervous system, so the rest and digest. So then that has a result, probably in that it will make you feel more calm, more in control, more able to make decisions. Okay, so there is action in inaction. That when you are still, when you are inactive, there is still action. There's still thoughts, maybe words, maybe physical actions that are happening there. You could also read that there is action in inaction. You could also read that as advice from Krishna to Arjuna and Krishna to the rest of us to not read karma as in, oh God, like I can't cope with this. I'm just going to sit back. I'm just going to give up. That's not what it is. Even if you give up, even if you're like, well, I'm never going to get the job anyway, or I'm never going to find a boyfriend that doesn't do that anyway. If you give up, there is action in that. There will be results. There will be consequences by you sort of giving up on whatever it is that you wanted in the first place. We'll get to that in a moment a little bit more. So action in inaction. Don't give up, but there's still activity when you sit in stillness, in inactivity, in meditation. There is inaction in action. Okay, so when things are really frazzled, when you're really up in your head, you've got loads and loads on, you can't quite figure everything out at the moment, then there is the opportunity to still pause within that, even to just take a deep breath, even to revisit a mantra if you created one for yourself. But there is the opportunity for inaction in action and action in inaction. Okay, we'll come back to that in a moment. I'm just going to let you know the 5 lessons that Karma Yoga has to teach us. This is a really huge subject, and it is a fun one to fit into an hour. But if it's something that you want to know more about, then just contact me somehow and maybe we can expand on it together. Okay, but 5 lessons. So first of all, in order to work with karma, the law of karma, that your thoughts, words, and actions have like consequences, repercussions. In order to work with karma, you need to know your dharma. That's not me being a poet. They are just like rhyming words. And your dharma is really your purpose, okay? Your destiny, why you were put on this planet. So when you are aware of that, the karmic seeds that you are planting can start to fuel you along that path, okay? But in order to try and figure out where the path is in the first place, you're starting to think about where the end result is. What is my purpose in life? Let me just leave that with you, have a think about it, and if you need any expansion on it, then just let me know. The second lesson is to act with the welfare of others in mind. Act with the welfare of others in mind. When it's all like me, well, my dharma is that I need to have 1 million followers on Instagram. It's like me. Like you'll be like, get out the way. I need to fulfill my dharma, and it doesn't affect anybody else. Whereas if you can know your dharma and act with the welfare of others in mind, then it's going to start making sure that your thoughts, words, and actions, the results that they have, are seeds that push us further down the path towards self-realization. Can't be realized when you're selfish. It's nothing to do with you. It's like, anyway, that's a bigger subject. The third lesson, sorry, I thought I had 5, and I was thinking there isn't 5. Yeah, it's 3. It's a 3. The third lesson is to renounce the fruit of your actions. Okay, so I know many of you have heard me or somebody, Callie or Angela, explain this before. We know now that the law of karma is that thoughts, words, and actions have consequences. One of the main learnings of karma and of life, which is completely liberating in my point of view, is that we have no say at all over what the repercussions, the consequences, the results will be. You've got no idea. Now, like I said before, there is inaction in action. because you don't have the control over the results of your actions, that doesn't mean that you then don't act. By not acting, you are acting, but the results are not going to be anything like what you were hoping for. So you still want to know where you're going. You still want to have a pretty vague idea of how you're going to get there. And the intention behind the actions needs to be with the welfare of everybody, or as many people as possible, in mind, i.e., not just you. In order to renounce the attachment to the fruits of your actions, you need to have an element of faith and an element of surrendering. Okay, the universe has got my back. I feel like my dharma, I always use this example, is to open a restaurant. Therefore, and my restaurant is going to be to feed people fabulous food, so the welfare of everyone. So then I can start to kind of line up my actions. I intend on opening up a restaurant because I want to offer really amazing food. And you might go and look at loads and loads of venues, and you might go on a food hygiene course, and you might read 800 recipe books. Or even though you are working hard to get everything in line, you have no say over whether the restaurant will open, whether it will be successful or not. Not really, whether there'll be lockdown number 857, which happens like when you open your restaurant. You've got no say over how it will roll out. It might be that you open it and it's the most incredibly successful restaurant that ever was, that nobody can get in, and then you get all this bad press, and and it was great, and then it wasn't great. So you've got no say over it. So let me just summarize that. In order to work with karma, you want to know your dharma, you want to know your purpose. Who are you? What gets you jazzed up in life? What do you want to do good in your life? Number 2 is act with the welfare of others in mind. Okay, selfless service. That's how the Bhagavad Gita writes it up. And number 3, even though you know the end point of the path, and even though you're doing it, acting with the welfare of others in mind, you have no say over the actual actions that you take and what results they will give. When we were at the beginning of the class and I said to have a think about all of the things that happened to bring you into this class, on this mat, in this room, in this house, in this town, at this moment, how many of those things were good and how many of those things were bad? And how many of the good things, when they were happening at the time, you're like, this is really good, and then they turned out to be, actually, that was terrible, even though it was what you wanted or what you thought you wanted. And how many of the things that were bad actually then turned out to be good? When one door closes, another door opens. That's a really common phrase. And that's got karma at the heart of it, hasn't it? That the door that opens is as a result of the door that has closed. Well, maybe. Okay. Let's just take a little bit of movement, shall we? So maybe you would like to just come onto hands and knees and take a few sort of cat-cow movements. Like I mentioned before, I'm a really big fan of knees together, feet together, and then just waggling the hips from side to side. It's just such a great little complement to cat-cow, really. You might like to just change the position of the hands to give it a little bit of, we're sort of taking ourselves out of our samskars, taking ourselves out of our habits, jazzing up the neural pathways. Maybe you just want to do a little bit of gentle head, neck and shoulder release. A few kind of shoulder rolls. And then let's come into a forward fold. So legs bent or legs straight, feet together or hip width apart, you'll choose. And you just inhale in to sit yourself up nice and tall. And then exhale in to find some space, not pulling, not pushing, just making your way into your forward fold. Your hands can be anywhere. They might reach your toes, they might not. Stay with the breath. I mentioned before about being present, being in your body, being present, present, present. Karma yoga is the presence of mind to change the habits. So I picked a forward fold because tight hamstrings can be very talkative. And that talkativeness from the hamstrings can go straight to the talkativeness about self-worth. I find that's a really common thing with people. Oh, my hamstrings are so tight, I can't touch my toes. I'm a bad person. It's not true. There are many people that can't touch the toes who are wonderful, and there's many people who can touch the toes that act in a funny old way in the world. So yeah, one is not indicative of the other. Keep the shoulders soft. Just be as completely present as you can be with each breath. How do you renounce the fruit of your action? How do you let go of an attachment to the result of the actions that you do, your thoughts, your words, your actual physical actions? So here in our forward fold, we've got a really great example. We're taking a forward fold because we want to stretch the hamstrings out. We want to feel calmer. And a yoga teacher once mentioned that forward folding, looking into yourself, helps to calm the nervous system. I definitely believe that to be true. Okay, so let's say that we're taking this forward fold because we want to stretch out tight hamstrings and we want to feel calmer. That is our intention. That's the intention behind doing the pose, behind putting the effort in. But we have no say over whether it'll happen today or tomorrow or ever or never. We have no say over that. So by putting your intention out into the world and then doing the action with the intention fueling it, and then letting go, surrendering, what will be, we are now free to be present on this moment. You're not constantly checking in. Oh, am I more flexible yet? Am I calmer yet? Am I more flexible now? Am I calmer now? How about now? Am I more flexible now? Am I calmer now? We're not constantly checking in with the result. We can actually, we know that we've thrown the result out there. The intention fuels the actual action happening, coming into this forward fold. And now we are free to be present, to be in the breath, to be separating any internal chatter from how we feel about ourselves. I hope that makes sense. Okay, bring yourself, excuse me, back up to seated. Let's lean back into the hands, bend the legs, feet wide, feet flat to the floor, and just take some windscreen wiper in the leg. Windscreen wiper, the action, in the legs. And you can go as far with this as you would like. This again, really, really therapeutic for the hips, for the lower back. So nice one to do if you've been seated for a lot of the day. Okay. So take a moment to take any freestyle movement, anything that suits you. You might want to just take like a bridge. That might be quite nice to just stretch out the front of the hips. You might like to invert for a moment, so feet above everything else, just a little bit or a lot. You might like to just come straight into Shavasana and have absolute maximum amount of time here. So again, you can know your intention behind what you do. Oh, I'm going to take Shavasana because I want maximum amount of time, because I hope that will make me feel maximum relaxation. But it might not. So when you can renounce the fruit of your actions, when you can let go of the control of the result, it's really liberating. There's so many things in your life that you can't control. Have the intention, let the intention fuel the action, act with others in mind, and then let go. These lessons are always so important, but I think when there's just so much that's going on that's unknown, they're more important than ever. I have no idea when Yoga Hero will be open. If I tried to control it, I would lose my mind. All we can do is have the intention to deal with it. Yeah? What will be, will be. Okay. So coming on into a super, super comfortable Shavasana. Doing whatever you need to do to get as comfortable as you can possibly be. And when you are at maximum comfort levels, finding stillness and remembering that there is action in inaction. So by being comfortable, warm, and still, there is activity there. There might be a result coming from the care that you are taking from yourself. And let me clarify, acting with the benefit of others in mind does not mean not looking after yourself. It just means selfish action after selfish action after selfish action is not going to get anyone anywhere. So by operating with some self-worth, by making yourself comfortable and warm and finding stillness, there is an action that comes from that. And remembering that it is presence of mind that allows us to change our habits. So we're not doing the same thoughts, same words, same actions that plant the same karmic seeds that sprout, and then we find ourselves doing the same thoughts, same words, same actions. The presence of mind to take us out of that cycle is what's needed. That is karma yoga. Just let go of that. We are aiming to let everything settle. Thinking, imagining that you could let your skin relax. And relaxing all of your muscles, all the muscles in the face, the muscles in the neck, in the shoulders, the arms, the hands, and the muscles in the chest and the belly relaxing. The muscles in the side body and the entire back all relax. Relax everything around the hips, the pelvis, the thighs, the lower legs and the feet. Imagine you could relax your bones. Let your bones be heavy. Relax your organs. Relax your connective tissue, connecting every part of the body. Let the bones feel heavier. Relax the muscles even more. Soften the skin around the entire body. Practicing the art of pranidhan, surrender. Understanding with Karma Yoga, we work towards our Dharma, our purpose, with selfless service, acting with the welfare of others in mind. So we know where we want to get to. There's an intention behind that that fuels that, and then we let go, we surrender. Very liberating. You can become an observer, a witness as to how your intentions, your actions unfold, trusting that it is the right way. Let's start to deepen the breath. When you feel ready, just starting to gently, gently wiggle fingers, wiggle toes, taking that movement into hands and into feet. Draw your knees into your chest and take a moment to just rock and roll around a little bit, massaging the lower back into the mat. We did do a lot of sitting, seating there. So getting some blood flow again around the hips, around the lower back will make sure that there's no kind of ongoing impact of that. And then when you're ready, just making your way up to a comfortable seated position. Bring the hands together into prayer. Lower the gaze or close the eyes. Soften the shoulders. Take a couple of breaths here. And perhaps just setting an intention to follow your heart, your Dharma, for your actions to have the right intention fueling them, the right intention for you fueling them. And also setting an intention to trust, to surrender, to let go of control over things that we cannot control. Let's rub the palms together, feel the heat, the energy there in the palms. Bring the hands over your eyes. If eyes were closed, go ahead and blink them open into your palms now. And then release the hands away from the eyes, and hands can come back to Anjali Mudra, into prayer position. Thank you so much for joining me for this session. I really hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I hope to see you soon. Namaste.